Be ready. Start. I have a feeling that another stage in our journey has been reached and a duty done. At the same time, I feel even more strongly that a still more difficult duty is ahead of us. Another journey has immediately to be undertaken in which there are no resting places. As far as the present plan is concerned, it had its beginning long before the Planning Commission came into existence. Much thought and many discussions had been devoted to the question of planning in India before the Planning Commission was actually created. I suppose I can speak about the Planning Commission without being unduly modest because my connection with it has been intimated. Nevertheless, the burden of work fell lightly upon me. Others carried the burden, and if I phrase the work of the Commission, I do not phrase myself. As I said, I can speak a little more freely about it than if I had been one of the recipients of my own phrase. The Planning Commission has worked very hard, very earnestly, and with a true crusading spirit in preparing this plan. I should like, therefore, to pay tribute to them. If I may say so, that need not necessarily mean that we agree or disagree with any particular chapter or particular part of the report. The work of the Commission is, in a sense, the first of its kind. I think we might justifiable add that in its particular context it is the first thing of its kind anywhere. Planning became well known when the first 5-year plan of the Soviet Union came into the field 25 years ago and has been something rather fashionable and much talked about ever since. It is easy to talk about planning in limited spheres of activity. Naturally, planning for a whole nation involves infinitely greater efforts than planning in bits. Planning in the larger sense is thus an integrated way of looking at a nation's manifold activities. I do not mean to go in for comparisons, but the old Soviet approach to planning was different from ours, both from the point of view of objectives and that of the methods adopted, though the difference between the two countries was greater in the latter case. In view of the fact that we function under a democratic setup which we have deliberately adopted and enshrined in our constitution and in this parliament, any planning that we do must naturally be within that setup.